All right, we're live. Okay. Okay.
Good morning.
Cool. Good morning. Welcome, Josh. We're really excited to talk to you today about mindfulness through play, and then, of course, later on in the more about NAKO and nouns. But the Burleys came up this year, and you were nominated for Johnny Appleseed, and immediately I see you on there, and I know, like, even for me, even though Nick and I both have been involved here and there over the years of what you're doing, I really just wish more people could get context to what you're doing. Because honestly, I saw you I voted for you for Johnny Appleseed because I know, but I know like more about what you're doing than probably other people. But I'd love to just talk about this and give total context about this amazing project that you've been doing and this amazing position that you made for yourself. This wasn't a position that you like applied for or tried to get it, like try to get into, like, okay, I can follow the footsteps of someone in front of me. No, you made this for yourself. I totally love to get into like kind of just the origin story real quick. If you want to talk about that, just kind of how what made you go for this goal of setting this whole thing up for yourself, and what mindfulness through play is.
Man, well, first off, thanks for having me, guys. Grateful. Want to just say I'm stoked that just seeing you guys blossom as brothers, as community members, as competitors, as educators has been so cool to see. And just to like put a quick little note on, starting in Texas with you guys, with like Norcross running, people down there. And just seeing how far you guys have come is so cool. So just shout out to you guys, first of all, because it's like, I don't know, man, just seeing you two blossom is so cool. I feel like you guys are doing such amazing work, and it's stuff that I was like building and wanting to do at that time. And now like seeing you guys coming in, I'm like, wow, like more powerful people in the community, like activating the community is what we need. So shout out to you guys first off. So
thank you.
Thank you so much, Josh.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, the origin story, I mean, how much time do we have? Like
45 minutes. So maybe just like the quickest.
Yeah, well, I think it's this is something that I've actually I've considered honestly writing a kind of a book about how this all came to be, just to almost for my own sake of not forgetting the story. In a nutshell, it all started, I was going to school in Eugene, Oregon for music performance and environmental science. I was studying psychology on the side too. It was really fascinating to me. And this, one of my buddies who I was in the drumline with was like mentioning that I should go see this book talk because it's a young author who he was really inspired by. And so I went and checked out this book talk. Long story short, this dude comes in wearing a suit. He's like 21 or something, and he's got long hair and a bun. And I was just like, what is this guy about? Like, what the heck? There's like 13 people in this book talk, and the question got asked. He like showed a video before he even talked about anything. He just showed a video. Thing that came up was the question, what would have to happen 1 year from today in order for you to look back and say it's been your most successful year yet? 1 year from today, looking back and knowing that it's been your most fulfilling year you've ever had. Am I chopping out? Are we good?
You're chopping out a bit. Yeah.
Okay, let me try some.
All right.
Okay, let's hope.
Okay.
Let's hope that this works. I'm just trying to turn my Wi-Fi off on my computer.
Boom.
Off? Cool. Okay, maybe?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. The question that just to reiterate, the question is, what would have to happen 1 year from today in order for you to look back and say it's been your most successful and fulfilling year yet? And that question really changed my perception on so much because no one had ever asked me that question. For some reason, it's like I'm sophomore in college and no one asked me like what would have to happen for this next year to be your best year yet. And so that was a really profound moment in my life that kind of changed everything for me. I ended up leaving school in a pursuit of playing music professionally down in San Diego. This wild turn of events got me this opportunity to play music with a singer-songwriter down there. You know, huge change in my life path. I go down there, I start playing music professionally, and at that time I was playing kendama. And then I started bringing kendama to the farmers markets where I was helping like sell this dude's book and like promote our music. And it led me to meeting some educators that were working in the school districts down there. They're really fascinated about my approach of teaching kendama with the mindset of seeing failure as a chance to learn and a chance to grow. I got invited to come into a 4th grade class to do a presentation. This was, I think I was maybe 21 or 22. This is like 11 years ago or something, 12 years ago maybe. And first time I'd ever got an opportunity to like teach kendama. And I had experience in teaching music, and I was like the section leader of drumline as a snare drummer. So I have like teaching experience, but never with kendama yet. And I reached out to Kendama Co because it was one company that was able actually to give me kendamas to give to people. So they sent me a box of like 30 kendamas, and I was able to give all those kendamas to that class. That moment right there showed me that this game is much more than just a game. It's a tool. It's a vehicle to translate important life lessons to not only myself, but to the youth and to the next generation, to build resilience, to build the perception, and I guess reframe the perception that you're more capable than you're giving yourself credit for. So that sparked everything of like where we are now. Is like that's the journey of where it all began like 12 years ago. You know, fast forward to 2018 now, I guess. I was teaching kendama, getting contracted by schools now in Portland, Oregon. And there's a lot that's happened in that time, but just for the sake of time, like I was wanting to take this to the next level. And so I actually reached out to Gabe at Sweets Kendamas and just shared my vision of what I wanted to do with the kendama nonprofit. I wanted to be able to bring this to more students. I wanted to try to expand this in whatever way possible. And Gabe really loved the idea. The idea was, you know, instead of building fires all over the place, my thought that I shared with him was, why don't we bring the firewood together and like, let's just build a bigger fire together. And he was all about it. And, you know, I asked Matt at that point too, I was like, what would happen if I moved out to Minnesota? He's like, well, we'd help fund you to get this off the ground and get it going. And so I basically just dropped everything again and drove across country to start the nonprofit. And what was happening in Minnesota at that time, Tyler Abrahamson had already been putting the groundwork for like a Sweets Kendamas like community education stuff. And he was the co-founder of the nonprofit with me after we got it going. But he had basically set the groundwork to partner with the schools for the community education programs here. So we started working together, and Sweets basically put up the funding of like $5,000 to get the nonprofit lawyer, get all of our paperwork filed, and get everything going. So like without Sweets, like the nonprofit wouldn't exist. Maybe it would have in a different universe, but in a slower timeline. But that was like a giant kickstart. So that was huge. And it started as Kendama Institute. So people might know like Kendama Institute, ki is, you know, a Japanese word for life force energy. It was, you know, a play on words to that as well. Kendama is a key to all of these different lessons that we're learning. So there was a lot of meaning behind that name too. And a couple years down the road, we hit the pandemic. Things were getting a little challenging. Tyler had to leave to focus on family. So I was left on my own running the nonprofit in like 2019, coming into 2020. I was all by myself trying to restructure everything. The pandemic happens. We end up pushing everything online. Online competitions get created because of the need to keep educating and finding a ways to interact. So that was pretty wild. And then we got to this point coming back out of the pandemic where it made sense to make a bigger reach at the time to make the name Sweets Kendamas Foundation. So we talked with the board, we talked with Gabe and seeing how that felt, and they supported the idea. And really, like, the only support that we were receiving from any kendama company was from Sweets Kendamas. So it made sense to just be Sweets Kendamas Foundation. They were essentially donating my salary, you know, it's like $18 an hour for a 40-hour work week to run this thing. So like Sweets Kendamas was providing the financial support to make this happen, right? They weren't dictating what it should do or what should happen or what shouldn't happen. They had full faith that like I was just doing that, you know, I was running everything. And it got to the point where we fast forward to 2020, early 2023 now. We've reached almost like 15,000 students at this point since 2018. We've had a lot of impact from after-school programs to in-school physical education programs to summer camp programs, and also doing some professional development within school districts. And as things go within just the industry, kendama is a hard industry to really survive within at a large scale. And like Sweets Kendamas was one of the biggest employee groups in the world, I believe. You know, I think at one point there was like 13 employees or something, maybe even more. You imagine paying 13 employees, you know, $18 an hour or, you know, whatever it is. Just do the math of like what you need to make overhead to just make baseline expenses. That's insane. It got to the point where like hard decisions to be made. And so the funding for the nonprofit was cut in like August of 2023. So basically little baby bird Joshua running the nonprofit had to just get booted out of the nest, and like we're free falling and we have to learn how to fly or die to make this nonprofit happen or not. And through the years, we've had huge support from the community, raising funds at live streams and donations, and that's been huge. But that was a huge scare moment for me, because this is something that has been, I basically committed the last 13 years of my life to. You know, like going from state to state, pursuing this intuitional, like led drive that this is something, obviously I'm not doing this easy amount of money. I'm doing it because like there's pull that there's a necessary, there's a necessity to share this message for some reason, right? There's a necessity to get these moments of transforming failure into a chance to learn and to grow, redesigning our perceptions on failure and creating more confidence in people is just driving this lesson farther and farther. So reaching this point now, we decided to, and at just kind of in context, we were calling all of our programs Mindfulness Through Play for quite some time. And operating as Sweets Kendamas Foundation, we were using the name Mindfulness Through Play to title all of our programs, because schools know what mindfulness is, schools know what play is. A lot of times people and schools still just don't know what kendama is. And I think it's a challenging thing that industry people have in general, is you have to explain what it is. You have to explain why you even use it, how you use it. So the program side of things in offering services, we try to skip that as much as possible. Instead of like offering a pitch to someone and they're immediately asked with like questions, the goal is to have, you know, when you say, if someone asks, just for example, if someone asks you like, what's the name of your nonprofit? When you said Sweets Kendamas Foundation, they said, okay, what is that about? You know, or even Kendama Institute, what is that about? You're automatically having to kind of explain the question, and there might not be much excitement in that, you know. And from our experience, when we've been asked the question, you know, so what's the name of your nonprofit or the program? When you say Mindfulness Through Play, they say, oh, that sounds interesting. Like, that's cool. Like, tell me more, you know. And it's just like, it makes things easier to move into the next part where we're going to be talking about teaching students emotional regulation and growth mindset through play. And we use this game called Kendama to, right? There's like over the years, we've learned what works better than other things. And that led us to the decision of changing the name now to Mindfulness Through Play. So this organization has evolved a lot. And I gave you guys kind of the like super rough storyline of it. But in the end of it, like this entity wouldn't exist without the support and extreme generosity of Gabe, Sweets, Paulson, like making the decision to support this nonprofit and like fund it for, 4.5, 5 years. The last year and a half, it's been fully on us. And I'm super grateful that we've made partnerships with school districts. We've built the reputation that we have at this point. Now I have schools coming to us and consistently booking us. Just to kind of catch you guys up on where we are right now.
Yeah.
We have a new record of current after school programs running. So we're running 11 after school programs per week. There's 6 after school instructors being paid per week that are teaching. And we also have a new pilot program with an elementary school where I'm going to be running a 2-week PE program at the school. So not only are the students going to receive the assembly and 1 class per grade, but they're going to be receiving 4 classes over the course of 2 weeks to really build on the skills that we're learning instead of just giving them that 1 class to experience the lessons, experience Kendama, but we're actually going to complete a unit plan. So that's huge. And so feeling very hopeful for the future. It's been really challenging. There's definitely been moments of like, should I just count my L's and like do tree climbing and cut some trees? Because at the end of the day, like bills have to be paid, rent has to be paid, food has to be bought, and things get tough and get into crunch time. So it's been a wild journey. And thanks for letting me kind of talk about it. I'm happy to answer more questions in detail too, but there you go.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Josh. I really, first of all, the first and foremost thing I want to say is, back in 2018, we were at Texas, and Coach Castillo, we were there helping his school with Kendama, and that was something through Sweets or Kendama Institute, and back then I conceptualized like, oh yeah, this is Josh's thing. It's cool. We're showing kids in schools, but I was younger back then, and now I have another level of respect for people in the community who are really putting their all into Kendama in different ways, and whether it be like company owners, people who throw events, or like yourself, who are doing this. And like you said, it's not easy. It's not like you don't do this because there's a ton of money readily available, right? It's not like you're like, oh yeah, there's like $1 million at the end of the road. It's just that you're doing this for the pure joy of spreading Kendama, and it's calling to you. It feels right in your heart, and to really go all in on this, even though, yeah, as you said, there are bills to pay, all this stuff to do, and just figure it out and make it work and continue to make it work through these struggles. I have such a high amount of respect for that. So thank you for letting us know about that and about that kind of that story, because this has just started out as a vision, right? It started as a thought, and you're here making it a reality more and more every single day, which is absolutely incredible. I did want to ask, yeah. So I know before you were you're between a couple of locations. Sometimes in my mind, I'm like, I don't even know where Josh lives at this point, but because I feel like a lot of the time you're always on the road in the past, and always on Instagram, going to different states, doing schools. But right now, so it sounds like you're just kind of set in Minneapolis, right? Minnesota.
Yeah, main focus Minnesota.
Yeah, and then over there, how many people do you have? Is it just you? Do you have people helping you?
So I basically run the entire back end of the nonprofit. I do the administration things. I run all of the compliance mandates. I run all of the insurance. I run all of the contract writing. I do have a little bit of help. So we do have a small board. So we have Todd Olson, who his kids are in the Kendama community, really amazing father. He's taken the role of secretary. So he helps me with the annual tax reporting, making sure our books are all good and locked in. And then Shane Donahue, who was at your guys's recent retreat. He's the treasurer. He's been involved since the beginning as well. So he helps run payroll for us, paying the instructors. Instructors submit invoices, and then Shane gets them all taken care of. So there's a little help there, but there is still a lot of curriculum updates. If an instructor is missing from a class and they have to pull out, then I go fill in a class. But in regards of the after school programs, we have, I think, 6 people. Parker Johnson is also an individual that helps sub classes when needed. So if I can't fill it in, then Parker's able to hop in as well. But yeah, we have Eva, we have Yosh from Grain Theory, we have Taylor, Barhan, we have Parker, we have Truman, and I'm missing someone right now. I feel bad, but but yeah, it's crazy because those classes are happening Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Some days we have 3 classes going on during that day, and those classes happen anywhere between 2 to 4 or 3 to 5 or 4 to 6. So a huge shout out to the after school program instructors. And that's kind of our main focus right now. And my main focus is getting more after school programs started and running, and me being the coordinator for that. So I'm playing a really big coordinator role right now, just helping get programs going, making sure they have the resources and curriculum and content. If they need kendamas, I can hook them up with kendamas, and then just making sure they're running smoothly. My goal is to get us up to 25 programs a week, 25 classes a week. That's kind of my next checkpoint. And currently we're at 11, so a little bit over double from where we're at, but that is my goal. And these classes, I'm talking to some other people outside of Minnesota. So this is definitely something that is a much easier application to getting players that want to become more involved in teaching involved in this outside of Minnesota.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. That was actually cool. There's like 2 people in the comments right now asking how they can be involved. There's this, how can I get involved in teaching Josh Kendama? So I don't know where he is in the States or across the world.
So yeah, Court's actually in Minnesota, and I would Court and I have talked multiple times. So we were maxed out at our schools at this current moment, but winter is coming. Winter's coming, which means more programs. So Court, definitely shoot me another email and let's get on some communication. I'll see if we can get you plugged into a program.
Perfect.
But that's it, man. Really, it comes down to reaching out to me. Let me know where you're at. Lyndon and Shane and I were all talking, and Lyndon's got a class going on right now that was like a private school. And he's got a little more extra time, and he's interested in getting some more programs going on. So, he's let me know what city he's in. I do some initial research on the school district, how the school district operates there. My main goal is to take care of all of the, red tape back end stuff. So, I provide the nonprofit background with our insurance and everything that the school needs to get us approved as an approved vendor and all of that stuff. Every school district's a little different. Every state's a little different, but I've had a good amount of experience navigating those things. And then if I need to, I can use our nonprofit lawyer to answer questions. And then we basically get the contract set up with the school and our nonprofit. So the school contracts Mindfulness Through Play, and then we subcontract the player to go in and run the program. So I'm basically trying to create the Uber for kendama teachers. In a nutshell, where it's like, here's the contract, here's what we're able to pay you for these 8 classes. Does that sound good or not? You don't have to accept it. You can accept it if you want to do it. And we do non-required, every Sunday there's an opportunity to come in and just chat on a call for all the instructors. What's working, what's not working, what do you need? So I would say the biggest way to get involved is just shoot me an email. And then we go from there. Is
your email easily accessible? Can anybody find it easily, or
go to my Instagram or the nonprofit's Instagram, and it's link in bio. I think it's written right there. So that's the easiest way to just see it visually. If you also go to just mindfulnessthroughplay.org, the contact page is there. I have on my to-do list to put just an instructor form, like request form. It's a little bit easier. So it'd be a Google form that'll be updated pre-NAKO. So that's kind of my biggest goal. Big goal with NAKO is just talking about after school programs and getting that information accessible and easily plugged in.
Perfect. Awesome. I'm going to pin another comment real quick for you to answer it. But Cordama just says real quick, he's like, can you tell Josh to send an email? So there it is. And Cam is interested. He's from Switzerland. I just pinned the comment so you can see it on your screen.
Yeah, you know, so we've done some work. Like Tio's talked to me a lot about wanting to get me out there to do a tour. The question is, it's definitely a little bit more challenging to directly get, you know, the like nonprofit side of things plugged into international stuff. I'm still like navigating that because we had some interest with Canada as well. But otherwise, I would just say reach out to me anyway, and like I'm happy to communicate with you and figure out how I can just support you, even if it's with some content or activities that you can do, helping you structure lesson plans and such, so that you can actually just get some experience and get plugged in. So again, Cam, I would just say reach out and let's see what you can do, because Kendama can be used in a lot of different environments for a lot of different people. With there's a lot of ways that you can adapt Kendama. The adaptability of Kendama might seem hard because, you know, you have to just catch it on the cup. But Gloken, if, you know, I've learned anything from Gloken, it's that there's so many ways that you can share the joy of Kendama with the simple act of dropping a ball on the spike, or like dropping, you know, the spike into the ball, or learning the bunny hops, you know, or just like, and like Nick, maybe you have like seen this too, like in Japan with like some of the younger kids, Zach as well. But there's a lot of ways that you can make the adaptability of activities accessible to people that are either in a wheelchair or, you know, like this is a side tangent story, but during one of my assemblies, we call people up to do first spike, right? And we always try to kind of gauge who might be a good candidate to like get up on stage and land it within, you know, a minute or so. But we always try to like diversify who we're pulling up on stage. And I ended up pulling up this student who was like sitting front row with, he was like in a group of, I think it was like the adaptability program. I brought him up and we get to the first spike, and I realized that he's hard of hearing and like visually challenged, like visually impaired. So working on both sides of those, but this kid is smiling and stoked. And one of the biggest things that I do with a situation like that is I will ask them if we can do it together, if we can do the trick together. And while they're holding the kendama, I will grab the cups and I'll count them down. So I still have them focused on the dot. I still spin the ball for them, but I count them down 3, 2, 1, and I pull up, and I'll help guide the kendama with them. But you would think that that would be lame, or the kids would be like, no, that was dumb. But the second this kid landed the ball on the spike, his other hand shoots up in the air. He's swooping and hollering and stoked, even though like you know, I basically guided the ball onto the spike for him, but he had the hand there as well. So we did it together, you know. And so coming back to the Gloken thing, it's like, there's no more like, I can't, it's providing that joy to people that they can do it. And there is tricks that can provide that experience, which is huge. Because if there isn't that element of even a little bit of a tip or a guide to the kendama, you might have someone that picks up a kendama and never touches it again, or maybe they see it a couple years later and they're like, oh, I know that thing, I'm like, whatever, like I'm not good at it. But the more that we can provide that positive experience with kendama, I just think the more we're doing our job as kendama players.
Yeah, no doubt. That's really, really, that's amazing. It's like you can that's just goes to show you can really get way more people to kendama than you might initially think off the bat, just by showing how accessible that route is. I mean, here you are, you know, you're helping this person when you're guiding it, but I like what you said, like his hand was on the spike, that feeling, he had the Ken in his hands. He felt that he did it, you know, and that's enough to just, you know, get that energy out of him that will likely get him have that really positive association with Kendama for the rest of his life. And I just want to actually touch on something that I remember from when we were in Prescott, Arizona, and I'm just going to ask you about something related to this anyways, so this is perfect. But this is, so when Josh and Nick and I went down to Prescott, Arizona 2 summers ago in 2022, we had the kids all come for like a fireside night, and we did like a demonstration, and then we brought kids up. We brought kids up from all ages, and there's this one girl who was probably like 10 or something, and she was kind of like one of those. She could tell that she was kind of, I think, more known in the camp, like had a lot of friends, all this stuff, and she gets up there, and it's like a whole like fun thing, but she like just was not getting it. She just was not getting the spike at all, and I think it went from her mind from like a fun thing to kind of embarrassing to kind of like, oh my gosh, wait, I'm actually not doing this. Oh my gosh, and I remember specifically, Josh, I think it was. Yeah, I mean, I was up there teaching her, showing her to spike, but then because she was the last one. Everybody, when they get the spike, you'd sit down and go back to your seat. She was the last one, and this is when I think she was feeling, okay, wow, I'm the last one. Maybe some emotions got riled up. I mean, I could tell she was actually tearing up. But I thought what was so cool was, and this was what made a really transformative moment, that Josh helped me, help her that really do the spike and just kind of calm her down and be like, hey, like, you can do this. Let's do it together. Like Josh literally said, like, let's do this together. We're gonna do this. We're going to pull through. Because right there. I mean, I don't know how often you kind of let kids like not go up and not do it, but that was really powerful, I think, because it would have been easy to be like, all right, well, we'll try again later, But she's also in front of all of her like friends and everybody she knows. But as soon as she was teary eyed, but as soon as you worked with her and got a couple attempts, she got it, and then the stoke was insane of the entire camp. She's basically crying. I mean, she literally is like crying a little bit, and then she's like raising up. And actually, I'm pretty sure you used that photo for some of your things. It was actually an epic moment. It was amazing. And that I remember back then that trend. I just remember reflecting, wow, that moment must have been really transformative for in that, for that could be applicable for us. For like, she's gonna remember that, and that definitely was the highlight of her day for sure. I mean, that was huge. Yeah. So I'm which is cool, because the reason why I bring that up is because I'm sure that just happens all the time. Like that's just like, you make that happen. Not that specific scenario, but that transformative experience where you're bringing out more, because there's more like Kendama than meets the eye. It's like being the spike and all the stakes. Like, it's huge, and you bring that to kids all the time, which is so cool. So I thought I'd just recall my experience with that and share that with everybody, because that's a memory I still remember to this day.
That's a cool story. Thanks for sharing. I got like goosebumps a little bit. It's a powerful moment, man. Like, and it does happen quite often where kids are like, no, I can't do this, or even adults when we bring them up and they start to maybe get a little emotional. And that's like where the power of our program sits, is because we can talk all day in schools what, emotional regulation is. What do you do when you get really mad? What do you do when you get really angry or upset? What do you do when you have negative self-talk? Like, I can't do this. I suck. I'm never going to get this. We can talk about those things and how to like create more positive self-talk, like, no, like, you got this, like, I can do this, I'm learning, like, oh, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to breathe. But like, where it really counts is like when you're feeling those emotions and when you're experiencing those thoughts. And like, why Kendama is so cool is because it is so challenging, and you are going to suck at it at first, and you are going to be missing. And even as pros, we still miss, and we have to remind ourselves of these practices if we are going to, get closer to the goal and succeed. And so it's so important to like recognize and like encourage the students in those moments and be there with them. Like, no, like, we're doing this together. You got this. We can do this, and to just keep that encouragement alive. 99.9 times, I don't let them like stop, because I know that they can do it on stage. I can't really remember a time when I didn't let someone go, because I will, at the end of the day, if it needs, I'll like teamwork it with them. Yeah. And that still surprises me of how exciting that is for them. It's like, oh, this is going to be maybe kind of dumb for them, but they land it and they're stoked. And then they sit down, they're stoked, and they're talking to their friends, like, So, yeah. Thanks for sharing that story.
Yeah, no problem. I think it's just, it's incredible work. Evan actually has a quick question. He is just curious about what ages you mostly teach. What ages do you tend to stick with the most? And after that first interaction, from what you've seen?
Yeah, so our classes mostly, like the assemblies are all ages, so kindergarten can hang out too, first grade can hang out too, but programs are second grade and up. My favorite group to work with is like fourth and fifth graders. Third, fourth, and fifth graders are probably my favorite group to work with, but we also have a lot of work going on with middle schoolers this year. So almost half of the programs that we're running a week are middle school. And I just subbed for Yosh yesterday at a middle school, and it's super fun to work with the middle school age as well. The age that I think tend to stick with Kendama, right now we're having the first student competition at NAKO this year. And we have third, fourth, and fifth graders are the most consistent names and ages signed up. So I think the middle schoolers are also at that age where they're starting to get stoked on it, but maybe they're not exactly there yet to like fully commit to it. So they're also a little bit newer because this is the first year we're doing more middle school programs. But I don't know, like just on this question, like last note is I had an elementary school student in 2018, one of the first classes I ever taught. And I was just doing a Japanese performance, I think last year, and I saw him again this year, but last year at the Japan Lantern Lighting Festival, this kid came up to me. He's like, "Hey, like, do you remember me?" And I totally recognized his face, but it was like, 6 years older. And it was this kid that was in fifth grade who is still playing kendama and seshing, and just like wanted me to sign his kendama and was super hyped. And now he's hitting me up wanting to volunteer and teach and like be a part of like our booths and like helping promote kendama education. So it's one of those things like the girl that got this first spike at the summer camp is like that probably had a really big impact, but we have no idea. To have even just one example of a kid coming back like 6 years later was like, whoa, like I guess we are doing something,
That's amazing.
Yeah, wow.
So I think I don't know, elementary school, middle school. I think high schoolers that get into it are hyped too, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So you said third. You said third, fourth, fifth.
It's probably my favorite grade to work with, but I think it's also because they're so hyped. And pre middle school, there's a lot less social media so far, so there's a lot less kind of fear of just being yourself. I think middle school, the tendency is to be kind of more wrapped up in your image and how you're perceived, and you start navigating that space. And
Evan said he doesn't know what the ages for the grades are because he's from the UK. Third, fourth, fifth is like 9, 10, 11.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Yeah, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah,
8, 9, 10, 11, and like middle school, like you start getting into like 12, 13, 14, 15. High school, 15, 16, 17, 18.
Yeah. For the summer camps, I mean, so you've done a ton of after school programs and assemblies, but I just talked about a story about you doing a summer camp. Is there any other summer, like what do you got planned going on for this summer? Do you plan on doing something pretty big like that again? How regularly do you do stuff like that?
So summer's kind of it's interesting because it's been some of our busiest times, partnering with YMCAs and different organizations to run summer camps. So we do like Minneapolis summer programs as well as St. Paul, and then YMCA programs. But this year it's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. So this is just like a little seed in the bucket. A goal is to run our own summer camp in the Twin Cities, focused fully on mindfulness through play. So kendama will definitely be an activity, but I'm looking to partner with other flow artists like jugglers or hoopers, yo-yo, staff. Like I want to create a program that is focused on multiple disciplines that students can rotate through and kind of find what they're passionate about. So having an instructor in each of those disciplines that's like at a professional level that can really kind of instruct and help kids grow. That's something that I'm looking at doing. I've always wanted to bring back Camp Kendama as well. That's something that we've actually talked about with at Camp Skyway, creating a Camp Kendama. That's something that I know will happen eventually, and it's one of these things that it's like, oh, maybe next summer. So it's a great space. I think you guys know that too, just like how awesome of a place that is. You never imagine like being in the mountains of Arizona. It would be so cool. But it is. So yeah, those are some things like summer wise, but biggest thing right now is just expanding after school programs and kind of dialing in this relationship with the school district for this pilot program coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing to hear. I think that's really, as you said, I mean, they can remember how epic that time was. And I was, ever since that moment, I was like, I hope we can go back and get involved again. So that's really awesome to know that you're still prioritizing that. What is so you started out driving all over and doing schools across a ton of different states, pretty much by yourself, what it looked like. And now you have help and you're kind of home base in Minneapolis right now in Minnesota. What's like as of right now, what's like the 3 to 5 year vision for Mindfulness Through Play?
It's funny. I knew you'd ask this question. I wrote it down.
Let's go.
Yeah, and it's going to depend on how it grows. But in a nutshell, like my vision is to not be the only one running this thing. Like I have a vision of having like staff of 3 to 5 people that are, paid either part-time or full-time employees. I want to be a fully operational nonprofit that is providing after school programs at a scale across the country of 50 classes a week. Like I want to be able to be at this level where we're just really dialed in and locked in. I also want that to be at that point where student competitions are a regular thing within the country, and being able to help facilitate that, because something that I really loved seeing in Japan was the student competition side of things, with the JKA competitions. And that's just something that we don't have here because no one's doing it. And so I'm working to build that. And so getting our after school programs to be a place where students are learning not even just these character building skills, but techniques that are super important within Kendama, to encourage them to have district wide competitions. So I want to have a Minneapolis, St. Paul district competition. I want to have the goal would be able to have regional competitions across the country, and then ultimate vision is to be able to fly or sponsor those students to come out to national championships, whether that's NAKO or Battle at the Border, to have a place for students to throw down at the top tier level. Yes. I think that would be so cool. So, more instructors, staff, a healthy nonprofit that's operating smooth and just is dialed, student competitions. There's some big goals, within that space, but that's just kind of in a nutshell.
I mean, Nick, wait, were you going to say something?
Yeah. I definitely think that there's a void to fill within the school section of Kendama, that area, after being in Japan and just seeing how united some people are, whether it be by age or team or where they go to school. It all really makes people feel like they're a part of a team, a community. And I think it is very special. I think that's something that is cool for people who have experienced it now in Kendama, who have gone on teams and done these things and like that. But for kids to experience that at that age, who, might not at the time have a sport for them, they might not have one they're playing that's as accessible as Kendama, to provide for those kids to make them feel that is, something that's really, really important. So Josh, I actually got a lot of I just had a lot of visions and ideas just coming out when you were talking about that, with school and moving them through club and in school, and then getting out to actual competitions. Yeah, man, there's levels to this, and I'd love to keep talking about it.
Yeah, man, that's something that I just I'm seeking inspiration. I'm seeking people and surrounding myself with people that are fueling inspiration. I've been very solo for a long time, and it's exhausting, man. And so whenever I get in these circles of people that are really passionate and pumping that inspiration of vision, I want more of that. And so I would very very much be happy to keep chatting and figuring out how we can cultivate that as leaders in the community, and just more people out there too, of like being a hub for a region, and helping set up those clubs in those regions and helping set up student competitions. Like this student competition here at NAKO is going to be pretty small, like I hope to have 10 kids, out of the like 60 that we have in the after school programs or so, or like 65. But like, that's my goal, is to like, and I want to get those kids shirts that say their school name on them. Like, like there's just so many ways to like get the kids stoked. And yeah, man, there's so much to talk about. Kendamonomics is a perfect plugin for our students to like progress. Like we have all these different tools. So now it's about just finding the way to get people plugged in to help like create those little Padawans. In a nutshell, I put a soft challenge out to our instructors, almost like, for lack of better words, like Pokemon gym trainers. Like, you are training your team, like you're the coach of this school, like, and you're going to try to get as many of your kids to this comp as possible. There'll be like a little reward for the instructor that has the most kids that show up. But just like trying to inspire more kids to come into this space and see what it's all about. So I'm excited.
Let's go.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure we could. I mean, I'd love to talk to you more, Josh. We can do that another time. We have DJ and Gabe in the stream right now. We're going to put them on real quick, and we can just kind of transition to talking about NAKO and nouns. I'm going to add DJ and Gabe, and then I'm going to go get my phone to just post about this really quick, just to remind for the final reminder, and then we'll get in. All right, so I'm Adam, and then be right back.
Yeah, I guess like
we're in.
What's up, gentlemen?
What's up, Josh?
Guys?
Oi.
What up, Nick?
Good to see you, Gabe. Good to see you again. Nice to meet you, DJ. Nice to meet you.
Man, Nick, it's good to see your face, dude.
Yeah, no, likewise. I'm really excited to reunite in just less than 2 weeks, like 10 days. So,
yeah, man.
really awesome.
I don't know if I'm more nervous or excited, but we're gonna lean towards excited.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm 10 times more stoked for the event now, thanks to what you guys got going on with Nouns. And
yeah, man, thanks for having us. Stoked to be here.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Definitely excited to let the community know more about what this collaboration is about, and being as transparent as possible, because some people, there are a lot of assumptions, and I know for a fact that, especially how I know Sweets, I know they wouldn't do something that is in any way backstabbing to the community in or any shape or form. So people
that's what we're all about, dude. Just
yeah. And I know for a fact. I mean,
clip that.
This event is going to be probably it's looking to be one of the biggest ever, especially with what you guys created. So I'm excited to tell people more about it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us. What's up, Zach?
What's up, Gabe? I'm really excited to have you guys here. It's really it's a pleasure to have you guys here to talk about.
Stoked to meet you guys and get to talk about stuff. So happy to bring clarity wherever we can.
Yeah.
The description of the thing that you sent me, sorry I didn't respond faster, but it's pretty close. But the story's a little different, but we don't have to go into details with that too much unless you guys.
I just responded to the same thing.
Yeah, I just looked at DJ's message like, oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna make sure it's as accurate as possible right after this. So for those just joining in, we're having Gabe, CEO Sweets Kendamas, on here right now. Josh Grove, we just had him for 45 minutes. Sweets Kendamas Pro, Mindfulness Through, and DJ, the main person for the face of Nouns for the collaboration and partnership between NAKO and Nouns this year. And DJ, you work for Nouns, right?
Sort of. Nobody really works for Nouns. It's kind of a weird question. People do projects for Nouns, and I participate in Nouns in various sorts of ways and various parts of the Nouniverse, as we call it. But yeah, it's not really a company, so there's not really any employees. But yeah, I have worked with Nouns for a little over 2 years.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So that's DJ, and yeah, he's, as you guys can tell, obviously involved in Nouns, and he's definitely a huge help between the partnership between Nouns and NAKO. For this stream, you guys had a awesome live stream last week that covered the kind of the backstory between how the collaboration between Nouns and NAKO came to happen. For this stream, I think I want the goal to just be answering just questions and providing as much clarity as possible. So I left what I took away from the collaboration, the story of collaboration, into the description, so people coming in can just get context. It's if you're watching this afterwards, it's going to be fully edited and be fully accurate, as they said before we started talking about this. It's a little different, so if you're watching after, it'll be fully good. I'm gonna start this off with some questions about that I have. But if you're watching the chat right now, guys, please leave any question you want, and we will bring it up on the screen. And DJ, Gabe, or Josh, or all three can answer your questions. So this is really for you guys to gain as much clarity as possible. But to start it off, this is pretty much just a basic question, but I think it's going to start with, just for those unfamiliar, DJ, can you explain what NOUNS is and what it means to be an open sourced brand?
Yeah, so NOUNS is a DAO. It stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. It's sort of a misnomer at this point. It really just kind of means any organization that like coordinates using like blockchain-based tools. Every DAO is different, so every DAO operates differently. Some are more centralized than others. Some have core teams. Some, like NOUNS, don't have any core team. There's no hierarchy. It's like a completely flat organization. And so NOUNS is sort of like, basically they have a sale every day for a membership, if you want to think about it like that. And that's how people get involved in the DAO. That's how you get a vote. But really anyone can participate. It's that the goal is to be a completely decentralized brand, meaning all the art that's produced and created as part of the project is CC0. So a lot of people might be familiar with different copyright licenses. CC0 means that there is no copyright license. All the artwork is in the public domain. Anyone can feel free to use it for whatever they'd like. So if they want to build a business on top of it, want to use that art to create other art, like, and monetize it, like, you are free to do that. There's no rights reserved by anybody. And so the goal is to create all of these sort of offshoots of NOUNS. If you ask anybody what NOUNS is that's involved in NOUNS, you'll probably get a slightly different answer, because to everybody it's sort of something different, because everybody interprets it in their own way. And that's sort of why it's like really cool, is that like, because it's a flat hierarchy and everyone interprets it in their own way, people do things in their own way. And that's sort of what it wants to enable, is that like individuality of like whatever your skills are, whatever it is you want to do, like there's some place for you to do it within NOUNS, whether that's building like apps or, you know, different types of software, whether it's hardware. So people have created like NOUNS LED keychains or like mini figures, so toys, kendamas, like all sorts of things. It's really just about supporting subcultures and kind of letting people like express their creativity in a way that's like unique to them and kind of unencumbered by like traditional like avenues for those sorts of things, or like just chasing a dollar, like that kind of thing. So
nice. Awesome. Yeah, I think the concept of that is pretty, it's hard to get used to, because it's like hard to wrap the head around, like, okay, NOUNS' purpose, or, you know, main function is giving back. It's definitely in that sense. So thank you so much for clearing that up.
Yeah.
And then the second question that I want to add on to that is something that I think a lot of developers are very curious, like, okay, like this is crazy, but what's the catch? You know, like, what does NOUNS hope to gain by supporting the Kendama community in this way?
Yeah, so I mean, this is an age-old question, and that's kind of everybody's question when they get involved in NOUNS, whatever their exposure is like, why? Like, why is NOUNS doing this? What do they get out of it? Like, NOUNS's core like ethos is supporting public goods and kind of proliferating a positive sum mindset. So like that everything we do like has effects on each other, and so like traditionally it's sort of people playing zero-sum games where for every winner there's a loser. And NOUNS is kind of trying to change that ethos of like, we can do things like and collaborate with each other and all build each other up, instead of trying to like scramble to the top and like, you know, like climb over your friends and peers, just trying to, you know, build something or create something. And so what NOUNS gets out of that is, out of any project that NOUNS funds really, is they want to leave a positive impact on the world by funding things that are like affecting, you know, groups of people, not just like, you know, lining someone's pocket. Like they want to, you know, provide things like they built a school in Africa. There's been various different types of charity work that they've done. Big donation to UNICEF. free prescription glasses for kids through various charities. So there's all sorts of things that they have funded, and really the end goal is to proliferate the meme, if you will, which is the NOGLs, sort of like their logo. And proliferating the meme is kind of synonymous with proliferating the mindset of like, hey, like crypto and NFTs aren't all bad, and we can use them to actually do good things in the world, rather than like what people kind of have that, negative taste in their mouth because of, things in the past, which is a whole rabbit hole. But yeah, let's kind of sum it up.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. And actually, that brings me up another question, another thought of mine that Canal players might be having. So yeah, exactly as you said, some people have, negative associations with crypto NFTs, and a lot of players I think associate NFTs and with scams. I've talked to a couple of people about what their thoughts are on this whole thing, and they're like, okay, yeah, I definitely want to be really cautious of whatever's going on in NAKO. And I've only talked to a couple players who've said that, but is there anything you'd like to say to players who are worried about NOUNS' involvement due to this stuff, due to hearing negative stuff about crypto or having bad experiences themselves in the past? Is there anything particular you want to say about that?
Yeah, for sure. So in general, I think a big part of that perception comes from just sort of, it's a new technology. Everyone who's using it is learning how to use it. And so like especially when something like you are controlling your assets, like yourself, like one simple mistake can lead to, losing all your money. Like, and maybe you buy the wrong thing, or maybe you send, money to a wallet address and you type one number wrong and now your money's gone forever. Like, so in the past, it's been tough because there haven't really been tools to like make things more secure and like, and really to educate people on what they should be buying, why they should be buying it. In the past, it's been a lot of speculation, a lot of like, oh, I'm going to buy this picture because I think it's going to go up. Like, and that kind of like FOMO, and that like, that leads to a lot of scams because people are doing things that they might not normally do because of this new technology. Like, you're not going to go out and spend that kind of money on like art at the store, like, are you? But like, it's a human thing. Like, people are going to do bad things no matter what the medium is. Like, people scam your grandma over the phone. Like, people scam people every day on the internet without using crypto, using PayPal and whatever. People scam people on Instagram. So like, it's just a human thing that whenever there's going to be some sort of transaction, that there's a potential for you to get scammed in some way. And so the big thing like that we really wanted to focus on to kind of like, alleviate that concern here is like, we're not selling anything. We're not trying to get any like, there's no transactions with anything NOUNS related. Like, the only thing we're doing is we are providing, prizes. We're providing funds for various things. Like, there's no point at all throughout the whole weekend that we'll be like asking anyone to send us anything. Like, and that was kind of, the main thing we wanted to really focus on is like, there is no potential for you to get scammed because there's no like there's no back and forth. It's just a one-way thing kind of deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think, and I think going for after this event, and obviously when you guys confirm what you just said, that it's just a one-way thing, I think that proof will be the strongest indicator. Like, okay, people will be like, okay, actually this might be something else other than my experiences. It was just, I'm looking forward to seeing the impact in real time of what NOUNS and of NAKO in the event. But then there's also going to be people who are saying, oh, with the value of, like, let's say like the winners, how do we know if the value won't just go down in the next 24 hours? Like, how does NOUNS ensure that the prize pool and other event expenses won't lose value?
Yeah, so great question. And that's, in the past, there wasn't really a good way to do that. Now there's what's called stable coins. They're US dollar pegged stable coins, so they don't fluctuate in value. So it's a token on the blockchain that's called USDC. And it's backed by a company called Circle, who cooperates with Coinbase, which is the largest like regulated crypto exchange in the US. And so Coinbase is FDIC insured. The token does not fluctuate in value. So we're going to have, all the money is going to be in USDC. We're not going to be giving anyone Ethereum or any other tokens that are, changing price constantly. Like, whatever we send them in USDC tokens, we send 1,000 USDC, they'll be able to withdraw 1,000 USDC to their bank account. And in the past too, it wasn't quite as easy to get money from the blockchain to your bank account, but now you can do it through PayPal. You can do it through Coinbase. Like there's various methods that you can off ramp money to your bank account. And it's just as easy as getting money from Venmo to your bank account. It's basically, if you don't think about it as a token, it's almost the exact same experience.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, cool. That's awesome. It just depends. I mean, one of the main things that people were bringing up were, okay, because there's now Japanese players coming to this event. There's a way more Japanese players, which is great. One of the main concerns of people over there were like, how does a Japanese player get this money into their bank account? Is it just pretty much the same?
Yeah. So there's they probably will have to use a different exchange, and I'll be doing some research and making sure that we're prepared to walk them through these processes. Like we're definitely not going to leave anyone hanging out on their own. Like we'll be there to help. Especially like using wallets and stuff is a new experience for a lot of people. And so that's a big part of this is just like educating, and we're not trying to force anything down anyone's throat. Like everything's going to be opt-in. If you want to learn, like we're here to help. But we're not going to be like trying to teach everyone all at once and get everyone to create a wallet. Like we want people who are interested to have the opportunity to. If you're not interested, like that's okay, And yeah, so we'll have all the information ready and available, and figure all those things out. So that way they don't have to like think about it as much, and we can just help them do it.
Okay, sweet. So they're gonna have like the recipients will definitely have support available after the event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Well, PayPal has that feature, right? DJ, there's a way of just doing it through PayPal.
Yeah, and so there's various stable coins without getting too deep into the weeds, but PayPal does have their own stable coin on the blockchain. So like USDC is one of the older ones. PayPal has PYUSD, which is PayPal's dollar. It's basically just a digital dollar. Like it's just a representation of a dollar on the blockchain. And all of those tokens are backed by PayPal. They hold $1 for every PayPal US dollar that's on the blockchain. So it's not like it's just a imaginary token that they say is worth $1. Like there's $1 in a bank account somewhere that represents that token.
But I think for most people, like until they get the actual dollars into their bank account, they'll, anyone that's skeptical up until the point where the dollars go from USDC or PYUSD or whatever into their Wells Fargo account or their credit union account or their Japanese bank account or whatever, like that's the moment where they'll be like, oh, like that wasn't as hard as I thought. And this is real money.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I have a feeling that, with all the Japanese players coming, there's guaranteed going to be them up on the podium. So yeah, that'll be reassuring for without a doubt. So I'll be reassuring for people listening for them too. I have another quick question from the community. If Ethereum loses its value significantly, does NOUNS cease to exist?
Interesting question. I would say that as long as NOUNS holds Ethereum, NOUNS can exist without holding anything. Like they could spend all the money every day. Say they get $100 a day from the auction. They could spend $100 a day and like maintain a zero balance forever, if that makes sense. Like that's been something that's been talked about. It's sort of a far out question that hasn't really been spent too much time on because NOUNS currently has around I think like 3,900 Ether in their treasury. So it's maybe like $12 million or something like that. And so it's not like going to happen anytime soon.
Right.
But even if the treasury goes to zero, like there's still going to be a community of people online who are going to use that art and create things with it. And then like the goal is that people can use this art and this community to build businesses out of and create artwork and, in perpetuity and not like necessarily be relying on the treasury all the time. Like the goal is not to have people who are reliant on the treasury. The goal is to help like raise up projects and subcultures and get them, to a place where they can become sustainable on their own if they're struggling with, traditional things.
Right.
That's a great question.
But if Ether went to zero, then their treasury would be zero.
if Ether goes to zero, I mean, there's a lot bigger problems in the world probably, sure. But yeah, no, it is a great question.
Nice. All right, cool. Yeah, and the next one for you I have is, well, as yourself, I also did listen to the live stream from last week, and you being an advocate, someone who's very interested in Kendama, who's been playing for a couple of years now, and also competing in the intermediate division, which is really, really cool. This being the first time that you work with Sweets for NAKO, and going forward, when this goes well, have you guys thought about or have any more visions between future collaborations, or is that even on the table right now?
It's definitely something we've been talking about. I mean, I don't know how much we want to divulge just yet. We're still, brainstorming, figuring out exactly the direction we want to go, but we have lots of ideas. And like the beauty of it is that what we are trying to create is like a place where any community member can come in just with ideas and like participate and help contribute to, the direction that we're going. Mm-hmm. And so without going, too deep into the weeds, like we did launch a Kendama DAO that's basically like Nouns, but focused on Kendama. And there's been there's a lot of different DAOs. We call them Nounish DAOs because they are like Nouns, but they're, all different in their own ways. And so really the idea is that we have a community owned treasury where right now we have maybe, around $3,000, and anyone who wants to can come and propose an idea and participate and maybe get a few $100s to sponsor their local jam, or they want to do a competition in their community that's like just a small meetup at the park or something, like so the idea is to be able to enable people to do things that they may not have been able to do without coordinating using the tools that we're trying to build.
Mm-hmm. So you're pretty much saying that this isn't just a limited thing for just Sweets, but actually you're giving the opportunity so that anybody can come to you, pitch an idea, and if well received, get funding.
Well, and not just well received by a small group of people. It's right. Like the bigger the community is, then all those people would be able to vote on the ideas, and it's essentially like what Nouns has done is they're building infrastructure, right? So like the way that I think about all this, for anyone that's really confused about the words crypto and Web3 and NFTs, these are sort of trigger words that inspire some sort of emotion from people, usually from a lack of understanding, or not maybe a lack of understanding, but maybe some crappy experience that they've had in the past. And like the way that I think about all this stuff is, it's kind of like when computers were the size of houses. Like everybody was like, okay, like why would this ever be useful for me? And or like when the internet started, there was tons of internet scams. There was tons of people, like if there's a way to scam people, scammers are going to show up and they're going to figure out how to scam people. But then throughout time, you figure out how to use these new tools that exist in ways that are actually productive for everyday people. And so like when DJ first contacted me, I have never purchased an NFT. I don't have any interest in NFTs, but I do understand like NFT as a certain technology that it comes with its own toolbox of ways that you can use it, and you can use it in crappy ways or you can use it in good ways. And so like my first question was like, why would Nouns want anything to do with anything that we're doing? And so mission number one became like, okay, like how do we really like introduce Kendama in a very relatable, positive way into this community of people so that they understand what they would be in, like what they would be getting involved with, or what they would be getting. Like, why would they support Kendama? Because they kind of met some people with Kendamas that like gave them a really cool, positive experience. And we got to thank Maroka and Josh for that, and DJ for that, of course. But then like when you peel back the layers of it, like these things are just different technologies that like can be used in different ways. And it's up to the people that are like experiencing the technology to be like, oh, well, if we use it in this way, then this can turn out to be a really positive thing. And I think that's a beautiful thing that as I came to understand Nouns more, it's like, number one, they really don't expect anything back in return. If they find something cool and their community decides to support it, step one. Really all they want to see is that like their noggles were a part of it in some way. So when you come to NAKO and see these noggles, like that's why they're there. Because to me, like from a macro perspective, outside of Japan, we have never had an influx of money of any sizable amount from anything that was not a kendama company to an event ever. Like Glowken in the World Cup, and like the fact that they're supported by the mayor and the government and everything, like kendama has really, like, and kendama events have really struggled in the past because like we just haven't had what I team outside kendama money. And of course, like now we have a source of money coming from somewhere that everybody's like, oh, this is shady. This is linked to something shady. And so we kind of knew that was going to happen. So like our approach to this was like, DJ, like if we can somehow have Nouns support NAKO in a big way, then we're already bringing the reward to the community before, so that like the reward is already seen. And then like, it becomes easier to like have the conversations about why is this reward here versus like anything other than that, right? Like our approach was like, yo, let's really, if Nouns can make a huge impact on a kendama event, then the conversations become possible to be positive versus like everything Web3 crypto and NFT related is a scam. I don't want to talk about it. Anybody that's into that stuff is evil and they're trying to scam me. And like, we wanted to make that conversation sort of switch directions by just bringing the positive first. And like, for me, like when I talk to my friends about crypto or Web3 or anything related, their brains kind of shut off immediately. And I'm okay with that. I'm not there to like shove anything down anyone's throat, but I do say, remember when computers were the size of houses? Nobody believed that those were eventually going to be something that you can't go 2 seconds without panicking and figuring out like how your day is going to be impacted because you lost it for a day. Like nobody saw that coming when computers were the size of houses, you know? So like, you have to kind of take these trigger words, Web3, NFTs, crypto, with a grain of salt, because it's the technology underneath it that's actually interesting.
And it's such an important point because like even using the internet as an example, like you used to have to only interact with the internet on a command line. And like now I bet no one could even name one protocol that powers the internet except for maybe HTTP. Like, and so like the whole like thing is that it's so early. Those types of like user experiences haven't been abstracted out to where it's like usable without thinking about what it is you're using. But yeah, if you don't even think about like the whole what's behind it, the crypto NFT stuff, like it's a community that has funds that wants to support cool stuff. Like the NFT part is sort of just a side thing that happened to be part of like what enabled this to be possible in a like trustless, like decentralized way where like no one person has all the money and can just be like, oh, sorry guys, I just, disappeared. I'm not responding. And all the money is now in an offshore bank account. Like the money cannot be moved by any one person. It can only be moved by vote, which requires, a lot of people to participate in.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to have skepticism, but I like to have open skepticism. So it's like be skeptical and like ask your questions.
Yeah.
But, like keep an open mind to like keep asking questions and then see how things start working, because it took me a while to like figure out the inner workings of like what a DAO is, how it works, like what's the point.
Dude, me and Josh had to ask 100 questions to DJ. I was so surprised that DJ didn't. I was so surprised that DJ just didn't be like, yo, like guys, like.
But DJ's been super patient, and it's been a blessing to have him. I really encourage you to come talk to us. We'll be together in the main room at NAKO. And, like what really did kind of help me see it too is like, okay, in the end, like if we had this thing, like a DAO specifically for Kendama, like what would that look like? Where literally it's not branded. It's not like associated to any one company. It's literally the community's involvement that decides ideas. What would that look like? How could that work? What ideas would get funded, and it got my brain kind of pumping like we can do some really cool things. Like the people in the community that want to like fund their jams or get kendamas sent to a different country that they're traveling to do like an ambassador program for, like, or they're working on a university competition. Like this is a place basically for like ideas to be funded by like a grant. And we're doing a mini little dose of that at NAKO, to 3 people to receive like small grants for, I think it was $500 grant and then 2 $250 grants. And you don't have to do it as crazy as what you would have to do to like fill out a proposal online. It's just going to be a Google form. It's as simple as filling out your idea, what the description is, like how much money you need, and like what you're going to use the money for. And the biggest thing is like, we give you the money. There's no us like holding you accountable. Like, yo, we need the money back. You didn't do that. That's on you. And like, that's what the DAO is all about. It's honor, it's trust, and it's respect that you're proposing to do this with this funds. Take some pictures, take some videos, show the world that you just did this. Or like, you might not get funded for your ideas in the future if you just take the money and run. Like, good for you. You scored a little bag, whatever. But like, you know, that's not what the community treasury is about. It's about funding ideas, about like holding that honor and bringing these ideas to life. And that's just, I think, in a nutshell, like your question, like what's moving forward, what's next, what's after NAKO? It's like trying to build this idea and grow this idea with the community, you know?
But I think that was the goal of supporting all the different brands, players from all over the world. You know, this was not supposed to be like, hey, we're just supporting Sweets. This was supposed to be a signal to the entire global community, like, hey, like we're here, and like we want to work with everyone and figure out ways that we can like all work together. So,
but we also knew that wasn't going to be possible. Like, you can't have that conversation until like something positive has happened to like change people's minds, or like at least make people become open-minded to an idea through something else happening, you know? And I think that we're in this place now because of a series of those actions of like, okay, like we got to do this before we do this, before we do this, before we do this. And now we're here. And this is like, to your point, Nick, like one more step in like the path of like creating an environment in Kendama that supersedes like brand loyalty, which has always been something that like really, really bothers me, is that like, you know, the Kendama community is made up of a bunch of brands, and people have loyalty to different brands, and they sort of like, you know, like it feels like one big brand war within a very, very small communal group of people. And like, in a weird way, like, you know, years ago when we were teaching in schools and Josh was teaching in schools, and we were like, man, like we should call this Josh guy and see what he wants to do. And he was like, well, I want to run a nonprofit. Like, that could have been funded by something like this that we're talking about, right? But that type of thing didn't exist. So like, we had to figure out how to make that happen and like get that to the point where like now Josh is like unable to be funded by Sweets in the same way that we've always been able to, because like Sweets doesn't have the same amount of you know, money that we've always had to support that. So like, if that's the case, like Kendama needs to be sustainable outside of companies, and we need to create jobs outside of companies. But how do we do that if the companies are the only things that are able to like hire people for jobs? You know what I'm saying? Like we need to think a lot bigger. And if we ever want this thing to really grow, we need to sort of strategize outside of just like what we do inside of one company.
Yeah, 100%. Love that. And yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Like having the jobs outside of the companies of Kendama, I think that would be such a potent growth driver for Kendama itself. And actually, I want to go off this question and go a little further towards just present NAKO. I would love to give you, Gabe, and Josh just time to really flesh out the impact of NOUNS on this event. Because NAKO this is the 12th NAKO. Like this is the 12th NAKO. It's massive. What is possible at this NAKO now with the support from NOUNS that wasn't possible at the previous NAKOs that you guys did run?
Who wants to
start, Josh?
I mean, we can take a little like popcorn. I think, you know, there's so much. It's hard to like pinpoint it down to one thing. I have a list. I mean, we can take turns. We can take a turn.
Let's just start. So number one, I think that we have, I mean, you guys were Sweets players forever, right? Like we have always like struggled to bring players in. And even when we do bring players in, we're bringing in like Sweets sponsored players. And like, how many of those guys take a real chance at being on the podium? You know, like they compete, they go hard, but like a good Kendama event should have the best players in the world there, regardless of like what company they represent. And that's very, very, very difficult. So that is, you know, when we got together as a crew of people trying to like link Nouns and a Kendama event together, we asked ourselves the question, like, what are the rewards to the community that would enhance every person's experience? And how do we really like put those rewards on the table? And one of the things like that we all talked about, and then I talked to Tio about, is just like, who could we bring or try to bring in a very short period of time? Because this came together like 3.5 weeks before the event. Like, you know, like, how do we actually get this to happen? And who could we get in the building that wouldn't be there normally, that people would be really excited to see? That was like one thing that like we would never have had the power to do that before. You know, like, it sucks to run NAKO. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like running NAKO sucks, dude. Like, it's,
well, nobody knows yet. We haven't made the list yet, but that's something that's probably gonna be released this week. Is like, one is like we're bringing in like 7 players, I think. So there's, I think, 5 or 6 Japanese players. There's 1 European player, and we have 1 domestic player that
we're still crossing our fingers, hoping people like, you know, like we can't say like when you see them there.
I mean, the flights are booked. The flights are booked. We just, you know, we just spent, you know, low key, like, you know, $10,000 was spent to bring the best players in the world to NAKO. That's something.
But all I'm saying is, hopefully they get on their flights. Hopefully
they're gonna make it.
Goes well.
They're gonna
hopefully they don't get Austin Donovan. You know, like hopefully this is something that like goes well. So I don't like to like talk too much about like exactly who to expect, because if something goes wrong, then that stops being like a positive that we brought and ends up being some sort of negative that we created off of, you know,
I don't know though.
That doesn't go somewhere.
I think that like I see where you're coming from, but I also think it's like the plane tickets are bought. Like, I've been coordinating with these players to make sure their Estes are filled out, to make sure that all their things are figured out. Make sure, you know, I've been coordinating way too much on this stuff, but
100%.
like. And like, I'm talking like early morning, late at night. I'm just like, dude, like, I have so many other things to do, but this is sick. And this is like monumental for the event. So I think number one is the fact that like the top players, and like we didn't even get all the ones that we wanted because people were unavailable and like they couldn't make it on that short of notice. But the people that are coming are at the top of the game, you know, like they're at the top, and each one of them has a chance of taking it all down, which is sick. Has that ever happened before, other than like, you know, Tio tried to bring out a few people and that was epic, but like this is one thing that like is huge, you know. And I think, Gabe, if you want to like finish on the thought of that, I want to like, there's a couple other things that makes this a big difference too.
I mean, these, like, we all get inspired by watching really inspirational Kendama performances. Like, the better the competition, and not only just the competition, but just like the better the hype, the better the things that happen in the building because the certain people are there. Like, I think anyone that's been to a Kendama event can think about like the people that were there where you're like, holy, if that person hadn't have been there, like they changed the whole event. Like, how many events did Bonds change? You know, like, can you imagine like the Mall of America events if Bonds hadn't have been there? Like, those are the kinds of people that like, when we really got together as a group, we were like, okay, like, how do we really like bring this event to a better level? How does Nouns bring this event to a different level? And so number one was people. That was number one. That's one thing that's different.
And like two, like another obvious one is just prize money. You know, it's like $10,000 in prize money split up between the top divisions. You know, that's huge. And like NAKO already had a little bit of a prize pool there. So like, I don't know what the full breakdown is with first, second, and third, but it's huge. I think I was looking at the World Cup and in USD, it was like 3,200 or something, like 34. I don't remember the exact, like some 3,000 something was like first place World Cup. Right. I don't know how close we're to like first place prizes, but like, this is crazy. The amount of money that's being split up between the top divisions. And then on top of that, like the community grants, and then these side events that are these side competitions, there's extra funding going into mini games. Like, you could literally win like $50 by winning Unicorn this year. Like, you know, like that's like, it's not all about money, but it's like, oh, like, I could like have a chance at like, I could ball out on a dinner tonight and like win Joust, you know, or whatever. Like,
I mean, when you study other sports and you think about like how people are incentivized to travel around, like part of it is not about money. right? Like there's certain people that are just like, I'm going to show up and compete. I don't care what I get at the end of the day. The only thing is like, we really want, I think the entire community wants the top players in the game to have like
to be rewarded for their time and effort.
Enough money to travel to the other events and to like be at all the events that they should be at. Yeah. And like the prize pools in Kendama have always been small. Why are the prize pools in Kendama small? Do you think it's because the companies running the events are greedy and we keep all the big money bags? Like, I'm asking that rhetorically because you guys like maybe some people think that like people running Kendama events are getting rich off of Kendama events, or even more far-fetched, getting rich off of running a Kendama company. Like, there's no bags of cash hiding. And so like players need incentives and they need travel budgets, and oftentimes companies can't provide those travel budgets. And maybe the players that win these things are going to take that cash and go buy whatever they need. But maybe some of them that really want to go to like other Kendama comps keep a bag to like go to other Kendama comps. So like increasing the prize pool is another just like reward of NAKO or NOUNS finding Kendama interesting enough or creative enough or weird enough or whatever enough to like support this. That like is a big difference this year, is that the prize pools can be bigger. But that's an important thing in Kendama. I think like when I researched like how disc golf blew up as a sport, how they really started, they got Whammo to put a car on the line. It's kind of a big deal. Like if you can say like first place wins a car, like tell me who's not going to show up to win a car. You know, like if you think you got a chance to win and there's a big prize on the line, it kind of makes a big difference. You know what else it does? PR. Like people are like, oh shit, like oh, you can like win a car if you go win this weird sports first place event. Like that was good for disc golf in the heyday of disc golf. And I can go into other stories about like other sports and how they built, but like it's hard to get the outside world interested in the sport of Kendama. And somehow this dude DJ, because he was a Kendama player, hit us up and was like, yo, we like the nonprofit. Like maybe we can do something there. And Nouns became like the biggest funder of what Josh does outside of Sweets Kendamas ever. And then we were like, what else can we do? Oh, maybe we can do a Kendama event. So then we built towards this Kendama event. And then he got another proposal passed through Nouns to support a Kendama event. So like now, like what was our last call, DJ? Like every time I talk to DJ, I'm like, first of all, thank you for being awesome and for hitting us up and for loving Kendama and wanting to connect Kendama to other things that you love. That's dope. Thanks for like making all this possible. Because when I got my first call from DJ, I didn't think any of this was going to happen. I was like, oh, this is one more super far-fetched random call that I'm taking that's not going to amount to nothing, because I take a lot of those because I'm an eternal optimist about like what Kendama, where Kendama can go, what we can do. And this one turned out to be like, whoa, like not only did some of this stuff come to life, but I got to like meet somebody that's really, really awesome and like really executes in a space that knew nothing about Kendama. We're changing that. And that space of people is also having a positive impact within Kendama. So now what we're hoping is that like through having this positive impact at NAKO, that people in Kendama see and become more open-minded about maybe what we can do in the future with this sort of technology. And I'll say one more thing, like as far as like all this weird technology, you don't even need to know that you're using it. Like it's just a piece of technology. And so if you can give people the rewards and you can give people a better experience overall, it doesn't matter if it's in Web3 or Web2. Those are just like weird terms that come with baggage. Sorry, I talked too much.
No, you're good. I know we're almost out of time, but like the last two things I think is different and like just more impactful, like with Nouns involvement this year, is like there's budget to support judges and volunteers lunches. Like catering is provided for like people that are volunteering, which is huge because like you're busy. These people are like committing hours to like work and like make this event successful. Like let's be real, like without the volunteers and judges, like NAKO in any event would not be possible. You know, like it's up to them. So it's like the least you can do is feed them. You know, like and like obviously cover their registration costs, but like so that's something that I'm super stoked on, just to like know that these people can like go to the like volunteer room and grab like a sandwich or whatever and like be nourished. And then like lastly, I really do believe like this is going to provide an opportunity to build the Kendama community. Like there hasn't been an opportunity like this before, like with the Kendama DAO and like what could be of that realm, like, and just supporting players and their ideas in general. I think we're really entering a time within Kendama where people are like supporting film projects and like multiple people from different teams coming together, like to film within Burl and like wanting to be a part of Burl. Like, you know, like Burl could get funded in a different way, like through the DAO to like do something even sicker. Like, who knows? Like, there's just so many ways that like inspiration can get pumped. And my hope is that more inspiration can just get funneled into the like the pot of the community, so that then we can start churning out some really cool ideas.
Yeah.
So you've got 10K prize money, 10K to fly players out, money for all meals or volunteers each day, plus registration, $1,000 to grants for community proposed projects. I mean, you're supporting the judges, the players, the volunteers, the community. Yeah, this is looking to be an insane event.
And talk about and going off the incentives, Gabe, you touched on like the incentivization. It's not all about money, but I mean, hey, like let's talk about the opportunity here, right? I mean, KWC 2018 gets crowdfunded $100,000. Now the prize just isn't $3,500 USD. Now it's $15,000. Suddenly, people, you know, may back then like, okay, wow, like Kendama Cup would be awesome to go. Wow, it'd be great to go there, but it's not possible for me. Wait, the prize is $15,000 ears per cup. Suddenly, I can figure it out. Suddenly, it's possible. Suddenly, I'm actually putting the effort in. Oh my God, the flights are.
Suddenly, your buy-in is worth the take home.
Yes.
Right. Like a Kendama tournament to the top players in the game is similar to a poker game. Like you have expenses that you need to get to the place, stay at the place, etc., which is your buy-in to the game. And if you win the game, if the prize pool is only enough to cover your expenses, then is it worth throwing your then you're literally going for the love of playing the game, which I think is good that we have a game that is worth playing and that like people are willing to do that for. But I think that these are things that we need to change if we want to grow as a community. And I'm not going to go out and say that like, okay, this is going to change things forever. No. But this is a historic moment because like it at least shows that someone in the world outside of a Kendama company is willing to like support.
When it was a group of people, you know, not even someone, like Nouns is no one person, like that is a community treasury that supported this, you know, so there's many people that see the vision and like
sure. I should have said an entity. I should have said something. I'm just saying like from a macro perspective, like we don't normally have funds come into Kendama from outside of Kendama. It is just not a normal thing, but that is something that we need to change if we're ever going to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, this is, people, this is a new thing to Kendama, and people, of course, anything new, it's like, whoa, like, what is that? But I'm just really looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. And I'm really looking for, at the end of the day, it's like, for me, it's like, I see this announcement now. It's like, man, I don't know what's happening. All I do know is that 6 Japanese players are coming, and that makes this event just like 10 times better already, just alone. Honestly, disregard the prize money alone, just 6 players coming up from overseas who are the best players. That literally makes this event like actually 50 times better. So that's what I was just immediately. That was my first reaction. So I'm just really looking forward to this event, guys. It's coming up. I have flights in like a week and 2 days, so really excited. DJ, I know we're over like 6 minutes right now. DJ, are you okay to answer like 2 or 3 more questions?
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. Thank you guys so much. Nick, just to check, you're all good on your end, right, for questions? Or all right.
Yeah, well, mine are all good. I just took care of them all.
Okay. All right, cool. So I have one here. It's what are the tax implications of receiving money on chain for the winners? And if there are any, will they be able to get support from Nouns, or will they have to navigate those tax implications on their own?
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about the tax implications. That's not something that like we're trying to make players worry about. It's just straight through Coinbase or PayPal, and it's not income, it's not prize money, it's not money that's taxable in that regard. And frankly, like even it's not going to be enough money where like no one's going to come after you for being like, oh, you didn't pay tax on it. Like we'll handle everything. We want it to be like you get the money and like that's it. So yeah, that's not something that we want players to even be thinking about. It's like we want to make it as smooth and seamless as possible for them.
Okay.
Awesome. I mean, I think to answer the question maybe in a slightly different way is like, okay, like you win NAKO and we hand you $3,000 in cash. What are you going to do on your tax reporting at the end of the year? That's on you. Like, like that's it, like at the end of the day, like you can't really be responsible for other people and like what they choose to report on their taxes or what they don't choose to report on their taxes. It's event prize money. So it's not taxed any differently than if we were to hand you cash or pay you with a check. You're still going to have, I guess it's more equivalent to if we were to pay you a check, because in order to use that money, it has to hit your bank account. And then once it hits your bank account, it's up to you on how you want to declare that, what to do with that. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's like
you're not going to get a W-9 request. You're not going to. Nobody's going to file you as an independent contractor that earned more than $600.
Yeah, and I think inherently it might fall under like a gift like category of some kind. Like I don't know exactly, but yeah, I think Gabe's point of the check. It's like, are you going to deposit $3,000 in cash to your bank account? Or are you going to use it? That's up to you. But the prize money in USDC will hit your bank account just like a check would hit your bank account. You're not going to receive like a 1099, like form saying like this was claimed by this organization. So.
Although you might need to, I have to talk to my accountant, but I think that like the money that we designate from Sweets Kendamas is another reason that events suck. So like all the sponsorship money that we bring in, the registration money that we bring in, technically to Sweets Kendamas, which is taxable to Sweets Kendamas. So all the money we receive is taxable by the government. And then we have to take that money and pay it out to hotels and all the other people, and that's expenses, right? So like technically the money that Sweets Kendamas has to pay players and prizes, at the end of the year, my accountant comes and she's like, hey, we paid this person more than $600 in a calendar year. We need their W-9. So not to scare anybody, but for those of you that have won big chunks of money from domestic sources and our domestic registered people, like you might get a W-9 if you win a large amount of money, which means that you have to claim it as something.
So, question unanswered or answered?
I think it's good. There's a lot of detail there. Yeah,
just information there.
Yeah,
taxes, fun stuff.
I mean, you brought up the taxes, dude.
Hey, I'm trying to cover all bases. I have two more. Last one's really easy, and this one's probably really easy too. Is there any risk of recipients losing the funds? Are there any potential errors of handling crypto with these rewards, like a misclick and then you just get them all deleted, or is there any protection against this?
So it depends on the process that we take. Each person can, kind of decide which way they want to go. If you want to receive it to like your personal, like what we call self-custody wallet, where you hold the money, there's always that risk. And that's where it comes in, like double checking, the wallet address you type, like it's sort of a user thing that there's not really a good like interface to like double check and like that kind of thing. It's still like, you do have to be paying attention and make sure you know what you're doing. But the alternative is that you can just receive it directly to PayPal or your exchange like Coinbase. And then from there, it's just like you received it in Venmo. The goal is to not have them need to send that money from their own wallet to the exchange. They can just go straight there and off ramp it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think a simple way to answer your question is, do you want to keep this money in digital currency or do you want to move it to your bank account? And my guess is everyone is going to want to move it to their bank account as swiftly as possible. In which case, the process is going to be very simple for most people. They're going to have a digital wallet. They're going to give DJ a QR code. He's going to use that QR code to send them a balance of money. And then they are very quickly going to transfer that balance of money as soon as it becomes available to the bank account of their choice.
Yeah.
Done. It only becomes complicated if you want to keep money in digital currency and invest in the digital currency space and do all of that kind of crap, which is where people lose lots and lots and lots of money.
And at that point, it comes to be about education, just knowing what you're doing and being careful about what you're doing, knowing that, like every time you type in a wallet address, like you have to double check the whole thing, even though it's like, 26 characters that are random. Like you just need to be careful, and like people don't realize like, oh, if I sent it to the wrong address, there's no getting it back. There's no entity to do a chargeback or like anything like that. Like once it's gone, it's gone. And so that's sort of a thing that you either learn from experience or you're just careful with from the beginning, but nobody makes that mistake twice.
I think that the other thing here is that like the weird thing that we're bringing to the table, that is, if anyone is actually interested in the Web3 space, if anyone is actually interested in any of this new stuff that's going on, DJ's literally this has been his full-time occupation for multiple years now. And he understands this space on a level that of no one that I've ever talked to before. And so if you have questions, like, he's also just very patient to Groms in this space of like, any questions that you have and whatever, because I am a super Grom in this space. And I didn't think any of this was going to be possible, I would say like 6 months ago. But then like my confidence became further and further instilled with each one of these little baby steps that we took in order to get here. And each one was important. But like it's only through experience and a positive experience that you get to a better place of confidence. So really what we're trying to do at NAKO this year is just give people a positive experience so that they can be a little bit more open-minded.
And there's really no dumb questions. Like it's hard to understand. It takes a long time to like think about because it is so different. It's such a like different way of thinking about things. And that's why like I've tried very hard to take time to answer people's questions and answer them thoroughly, because that's the only way people are going to change how they understand about it, is if someone is willing to take that time, who actually knows and can like, kind of dispel some of that, misinformation that's like kind of it's lingered because might have been true at one point, but like it's just because it's such a young technology, and like that the space has evolved a lot in the past couple of years. And so it's just really important that someone, is there and available for people who have questions. So like I'm in the NAKO Discord. You can find me on Instagram if you want. Discord's probably better, just because I prefer to answer questions in public, so that way other people can read our conversations and learn from them. And I'm always trying to provide links and resources. So yeah, don't hesitate to ask questions. It's really important.
Awesome. Okay, cool. We have this. Nice, Josh. I'm going to show this question in the chat. I think this is going to be a simple question. This is just for the people who really just don't know or have any clue what the announcement of this is. What does on-chain mean?
So on-chain is sort of just a simple way of saying that it's something on the blockchain. Just because like you could say 10K USDC, or you could say this or that, but like on-chain just means it's activity that happens on the blockchain, because if it's happening on-chain, it's recorded in the blockchain forever. And so there's like a permanent record of it. And so that's like NOUNS is transparent because it's all on the Ethereum blockchain. Anyone can go in and see every flow of every penny that has come in or out the entire 3 years it's existed. And that money, like you can see it any time of any day. It's a totally transparent public ledger. And so that's the whole idea, is that it's just things happening on the blockchain.
And the blockchain is literally like a block of information, a block of transactions that once it reaches its like maximum amount per block, it becomes a link in the chain that then the next block is, made with all the transactions and happens, and then that links into that chain, and that's the strand of transactions or trades or money being sent. So you can see anything, like anyone's wallet, you can see like what transactions have happened. It's all open, you can see it. But yeah, I don't, not to go too deep into that. That's basically the blockchain.
In layman's terms, it's an advanced form of internet record keeping. Like being on chain just means that you're recorded in a new way of recording data, so that it's more like essentially all blockchain. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to layman it down to the bottom, but like the way that I understand blockchain and all the technologies built on top of it is it's a different way of verifying data. It's a different way of recording data and verifying data, and verifying like transactions kind of without third party validation. Like the whole what Bitcoin started is essentially that like DJ and I don't have to know each other, and we can have a transaction that doesn't need to be validated by a bank or a third party.
Exactly. That sums up pretty well.
Boom. Okay. And then I'm just going to show this one on the screen. This just came in, DJ.
Yeah, so I saw that. It's actually a good question. Yeah. And I talked about it, I think, a little bit on the Sweets stream. So I'll touch on it briefly without going too in depth. But Nouns started around 3 years ago. And at the time, there was no legal framework for DAOs to like become a legal entity in the US. So best practice was to establish a Cayman and Islands Foundation. So there's a Cayman Islands Foundation currently that represents the NOUNS Foundation. And they're actually in the process right now of switching to a decentralized, unincorporated nonprofit association, which is a DUNA in Wyoming, which is a new version of the UNA framework that has been established for a while. But it's more adapted for flat organizations like Nouns that don't have a leader, don't have a chairman or a CEO or anything like that. And so the whole idea is that by becoming this legal entity in the U.S., it makes Nouns more it makes it so other people are more likely to want to work with Nouns. Because people hear Cayman Islands Foundation and they're kind of like, oh, that's weird. But like at the time, that was the best practices. And so now they're switching to this DUNA, and the goal is to eventually become a 501c3 nonprofit. But in order to get there, they have to become a legal entity in the U.S. first.
We had a nonprofit auditor in the chat in our last stream, and they were like, I can't believe this isn't a 501c3 yet. And and DJ is like, very kind answer is like, the legal framework for what this is doesn't exist yet. Like what this is a group of people that decide to put money inside of a treasury in return for an NFT, which yes is a piece of digital art, but also is a digital key that allows you to submit proposals and vote on proposals. So in exchange for the money that you put into the treasury, you are handed a digital key, and that digital key allows you to propose ideas in that to be funded and vote on the other ideas to be funded. And there doesn't really exist an organization similar to this, because when you need people to make decisions. You need a board, you need a president, you need, like Josh and I can tell you from, the formation of the nonprofit that he runs, it's very complicated, and you have to jump through all like a bunch of people hoops. It requires people, but like what the technology is allowing a bunch of people to come together and interact in a very seamless way where it's very simple. Idea proposed, how many votes does it get? Money goes out. Idea proposed, how many votes does it get? Oh, not enough votes, shut down, no money goes out. And every day that someone decides to purchase one of these digital keys, they add to the treasury. Does that make sense? So it's like, it's a very interesting, I think Josh said it the best. It is a communal treasury that the community members have the keys to how the money is spent and what ideas are proposed and voted on.
And so, like I mentioned, the goal is to become a 501c3 nonprofit. And if that, happens, which obviously we want it to happen, that makes bids on auctions tax deductible donations. And it makes Nouns essentially the most transparent nonprofit that's ever existed, because you see where every penny goes. You know exactly what's happening, and you know who is deciding what is going where. And you know, now if you donate to a nonprofit, like, you have no idea what's being done with that money. 80% of that money could go to pay salaries, and you have no idea. Like, even if you think you're, you know, helping, like, you might not be helping as much as you think. And so it becomes this organization that is like 100% transparent, that's never existed before. And so it increases the level of confidence in people donating to them and feeling comfortable donating that large amounts of money are going to be efficiently used and not just, you know, squandered away to line people's pockets.
Perfect. Awesome. That's great information. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the question, Merrick. Guys, we have been gone over, but I just want to say thank you so much, Josh, Gabe, DJ. Really, really appreciate your guys' time. I think this is going to be really, really valuable clarity for the community coming into next weekend. And overall, from my end, I just can't wait to see the outcome of this weekend. I was already excited for NAKO, but I'm so much more stoked now than I was. And, you know, with more clarity towards all of this, I'm really looking forward to this partnership between NOUNS and NAKO.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And as funny as it is, this is actually going to be my first Kendama competition. I've always kind of just played Kendama at home and don't really know anyone that plays Kendama, so I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah, nice.
It's going to set a high bar. It's going to set a real high bar for you.
That's nuts. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that crazy. It's meant to be, man.
It's destiny, man.
It's all meant to be, man. Like,
No,
DJ
really cool.
DJ, you had never been to a blockchain conference either before we started talking and doing like this project of linking DJ's passion project of linking Kendama and his other passion has now led him to go to his first conferences in that world in person, and now to his first Kendama conference in person. And it's only through kind of having this work and this like having something to do and having these goals, and it's a beautiful thing, man. And thank you guys for having us on. Really appreciate it. And hopefully people have more questions, you know, like, and hopefully we're able to answer more questions, because the last thing that we want to do is bring something to the Kendama world that is shady in any way, anything that's like trying to take advantage of people in Kendama in any way. I mean, that would be like the biggest shoot ourselves in the foot / ball drop that we could ever do. So like, hopefully people don't see, you know, Sweets and Mindfulness Through play as people that like would attach to something shady just for money. Like, I think what we are trying to do is do good stuff for Kendama. And like, I think that when Josh and I started, we had a lot of questions, and through the process, those questions became answered, and we just were like, okay, like, this is just a pure positive. So we need to like see what we can do with it. And now hopefully
no dumb questions.
What we can do with it.
We're not bringing shadiness, but we are bringing shade. So make sure you stop by and get your free shades at the booth. All right. While supplies last, we're just giving them away. Okay, that's my plug.
Oh yeah, I mean, no, that is a valid. It's valid. Like, when you guys show up at NAKO, I'm probably gonna have some shades on. The players that we bring hopefully are down to wear some shades. To be honest, like, if the community is in any way thankful to these extra rewards that have been given to us from people outside of our community, like, the way that we show that love is by repping like the NOGs. Essentially, like, it's very simple. Like, any form of these like these digital glasses that are their mark. What I like about this community treasury funded things is, like, anywhere in the world you go, if you see their mark on a school, if you see their mark on Dreamland Skate Park, if you see their mark in somewhere, if you see their mark at NAKO, other people who know that mark are like, oh, NOUNS had something to do with making that possible. NOUNS had something to do with making that better. This was a NOUNS project. So that's what they're all about, is like, when they do something, they just want to put their mark on it, because that way other people that know that mark or see that mark, that have had a good experience with that mark in some other place, or some other experience or some other project, see it on this, and they're also like, whoa, that's a Nouns project, which also in a weird way makes it more lit in the world of Web3 and crypto, because Nouns has a really good relationship in this very, very, I will say, like, in a place where there are a lot of like shady things and scams.
The Wild West.
I heard numerous people at the one blockchain event that I went to be like, yo, are you with Nouns? Nouns is like one of the very few examples of people doing it right. And if anything's going to give me confidence, that's going to give me confidence from people like inside that sphere that are like, yo, like these are some of the very few people that are doing like real, they're doing it right.
Yeah.
And so we're associating Kendama with that on the other side of the coin too, which I think is just really positive.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait to see Ryoga in those glasses. Oh, hey. I didn't. Hey,
who?
I don't know.
Mahara.
Something about the receipts.
Whoa! Whoa!
Wait.
Something's happening.
Sorry.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys, whoever are watching this afterwards. Everything is going to be time stamped out. The description is going to be completely accurate for you guys to be, have as much context as possible, as much information as possible around this, and to find these points of what we talked about super easily. So once again, thank you, Gabe, Josh, and DJ. We'll let you know when this is out, and everybody listening, have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Peace.
See you guys.
Later.